Welcome to this edition of In-Depth Alaska. Tyler Johnson and his father were mauled by a brown bear while hunting in Cooper Landing over the weekend. Tyler was medevaced to Anchorage, and Alaska's News Source's John Thompson had the opportunity to speak with him as he recovers.
And then where do you live, Tyler?
Right now, I just moved to Austin, Texas.
Oh, you moved to Austin?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Just drove down there.
Oh, so like how recently?
A month ago.
A month ago. So you came up just to hang with Pops, do a little hunting, and
do a little hunting, yeah.
So. Did you bring the whole family up? Is your family up here?
Yeah, so my wife and kid and my 2 dogs and a Jeep Cherokee and a 12-foot U-Haul, we drove all the way down to Texas, 4,400 miles later.
So you're not even, so your wife and your son are back in Texas?
Oh yeah,
that's
2-year-old, yep.
That's got to be pretty rough.
Rough on her, I'm sure.
Yeah. Have you talked to her?
Oh yeah.
What have those conversations been like?
They miss me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. When do you think you'll be able to go back?
As soon as my amoxicillin's done. So
Oh.
that's for the infections that come with getting scratched and bit by a bear. Yeah.
Has it sunk in what happened to you yet? Have you, I mean, it's been, that was what, Saturday around 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
2:58, yeah.
Wow.
It's been sinking in still. You know, it's a deep one to get into. So.
Well, let's start. So you said, where did you grow up?
Sterling.
In Sterling.
In Sterling, yep. Born and raised in Sterling, near Soldotna. It's a great place to grow up, outdoors and everything. So.
And your dad still lives in Sterling?
He lives around area, you know, K Beach area, by Kenai, Soldotna.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you guys, is this a place like the Resurrection Pass Trail? There is this where you go quite often? Or?
No. I mean, I love hiking, and Resurrection is a really long trail. I've always wanted to do it. And I was actually really surprised my dad brought it up, because we typically go across Tustamina, up into the glaciers there. I mean, real far away from everybody. Another place that's called Devil's Bay, so apparently I like going to Devil's Passing Creek. I don't know any connection behind it. But anyways, yeah, we don't typically go that direction, and this is the first year that we went towards Resurrection, and I was excited. I've always wanted to do it, planned on doing it. My father was like, hey, let's do Resurrection. It's like, absolutely. Never been there, always heard it's gorgeous. The trail is gorgeous. It is.
And it's what, a 3 to 5 day hike or so, or what would you say? Or
I don't know. I didn't go all the way through. I mean, we did 15 miles in one day with a heavy pack.
Wow.
Obviously, you'd want to take your time going through a beautiful area like that. So.
But you were also hunting, you said, for black bear? Or
black bear, sheep, potentially a wolf, you know, just you know, anything that we felt like we can get and be safe about it.
Okay. And so this was kind of off the radar. You're walking, and I don't know. Please tell your story.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, we never done Resurrection before. Always wanted to. We have a camp that's near Abernathy, and that's off of Resurrection. It's kind of like an area where a whole bunch of creeks enter, and it's kind of funnel for a whole bunch of animals. The first day, I mean, like I said, we hiked all day to get to where we wanted to stay in camp. And the next day we did a little hunting trip. You know, we went up a tall mountain. We weren't trying to do sightseeing, but that's kind of what it ended up being. We didn't see a lot of animals there.
Okay.
Typically, when you're hunting for black bear around this time, they're going for berries, so you're looking on the slopes or potentially, you know, up to where we were. We didn't see anything. A beautiful day, again. The next day was Saturday, so Thursday hiked in, Friday hunted, didn't see anything, went back, played some cribbage, and then the next day woke up, hung around camp for a little bit, moseying along, thought we might, you know, it's 64 degrees in Alaska, you know, might as well take advantage of this and go for a hunt. And we looked on our maps and we saw an old, I suspect a horse trail. I was like, you know, started maybe in the early 1900s. And it started off to be a pretty good trail. You know, one that's not really used, maybe by animals. And it ended up being just flagging after about an hour of hiking, side hilling, going in between mountains. Again, like I said, beautiful day, looking around, scenery's awesome. And then the flagging started getting a little bit further apart, a little bit more weathered, harder to find, but we're pushing it through. And I think at that time, after hiking for a few hours, hitting a valley, gorgeous valley, kind of see where we wanted to go, saw that there's kind of a creek perpendicular to us, and that was about like 2:30. I think we started losing a little bit of the flags. And about, I don't know, it was a ways away, we saw that there was a opening through this really thick brush. And if you ever bushwhacked anywhere down in the Kenai, there's some bushes that just don't want you to go through. You know, they try to almost pull you back. Wow. It's definitely a tussle trying to get through them. And we found a area where it was just open and there was a flag there. You know, jump over the creek. At that time, my dad actually saw the flag first. And like I said, it's a big open valley area.
And the flag marks the trail,
The
right?
flag marks
or
a path.
A path, okay.
Right. And before I go further, you know, we did see that there was some animal, I don't know, traces of animal on that trail. They like taking the path of least resistance, just like us, right? I saw moose prints. I didn't see any bear tracks, you know. So, again, we're up there. I wasn't suspecting to run into a brown bear. You know, that's something that you're trying to be aware of, and that's why you have protection and all that. But was not suspecting to see a brown bear. You know, we were hunting, so we're making, you know, minimal noise, as hunters do. You're not trying to alert your animal you're trying to go for. But we were talking, you know. My dad saw the flag, so he starts marching towards it. It's kind of like a marshy area. And then he hit the creek, started going into that little funneled area that heads uphill slightly. That's about 15 yards long.
Okay.
And so I hit the beginning of that opening, just as my dad's exiting that opening. And at the end of that opening, it's kind of like this, it's like an opened area. And it goes up the hill a little bit, and it turns into that kind of golden grass. It goes about, I don't know,
okay,
knee to just above knee high. And I follow my father, and he's, you know, obviously we're hiking, we're walking, trying to find the next flag, and I get out of that tunnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I take about 5 steps out of that, and that's when my dad yelled, "Bear!" And I think almost simultaneously the bear did its growl. Mm-hmm. And from what I remember, it kind of split the difference between my dad, like almost like a triangle, you know. I'm here, he's there, the bear's here over to my left. And it was bear, bear, bear growls, which if you ever heard a grizzly, it's shocking, to say the least. And it was not, I mean, it wasn't even like a warning growl. It just, you know, did his growl and sprinted towards my dad. And me realizing that and it's the same color as the golden grass almost, you know, I just saw the head pop up. So I only can assume it was laying down the grass. And we surprised it as much as, you know, it surprised us, right?
Right.
I took a lot of time reflecting on this. So it charged my dad. My dad, he has a Glock 40 on his chest, and he also has a backpack. And it enclosed on him real quick to where, you know, when a bear's about to maul you, typically, or not typically, you know,
yeah,
you turn around and it's going to try to go for your neck or head, and, you know, you have a backpack that would protect you. So I didn't see this the way he did. He told me, you know, he turned around, almost, you know, noticed, protect your neck. That's when the bear put the brakes on, because he was yelling at the bear, "Hey, hey, 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 hey!"
Right.
The bear put on his brakes, turned towards me, and I had my hand on my firearm at that moment. It was attached to my backpack. I have an external frame that has a frame going over above the head. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those,
yeah,
but it immediately turned towards me, and I try to get my gun out of my holster, and my holster has a strap with a thumb, so you press it, push the strap forward, then you can take your gun out of the holster. I failed attempt for a second, you know.
Yeah.
Oops. And it was about from me to you when it, I don't know, how do I say it, kind of like lunged up. And it's so hard to, like, it all happened like that, right? From my injuries that I have and what I can try to, like, piece together, I suspect that the bear tried to paw me, which, you know, I don't remember, but I think it hit my backpack, my external frame, and I have claw marks on my shoulder here. Knocked me sideways. At the same time, it gripped into my my right quad here, and I was falling backwards at this time. It was like getting hit by a train, right? And my feet went over my head. It put its teeth into my calf as I was falling backwards. But right when I was falling, I mean, he hit me, and at the same time, I got my gun out. And when I was falling backwards, I believe that's when I shot myself in the leg when I'm flying backwards. And I have, I think it's like black residue around my, so I must have been like right there. Wow. Blasted, falling backwards, and the bear was on top of me. And that's when I put 7 rounds into its chest, head area. I mean, anything that I can really hit, you know, it's on top of me, so, you know, I'd shoot myself through the leg again if it hit the bear and would kill it. You know, it all happens that fast. But there was a moment when the bear was on top of me, and in the same breath, mind you, my dad is not just standing there, right? My dad is trained in this. He's a fish and wildlife, or he was a fish and wildlife officer for 34 years, bear training, put me through bear training. You know, now he's a wildlife trooper, so he's well versed in running into bears. One of the best hunting partners you can probably have.
Right. Yeah, sounds like it.
And at that same breath, when the bear's on top of me, I'm unloading onto the bear. He takes a different angle so he doesn't shoot me, which in a stressful situation, I'm happy he didn't do that, because I don't know if I can, you know, all I see is my dad getting attacked. It's like, I'm trying to shoot the bear, right? He took a different angle, and he's coming at the bear, and he has a 40 Glock, and he's unloading on the bear, probably on its butt or something, you know, at that time until that 7th round. I don't know if I hit it in the brain or hit it in the spine, but I remember noticeably seeing a difference in a pissed off bear and a bear that's falling over. So the bear then was falling over. I fall backwards and I move back. I let go of my gun because I realized that the bear is now, my dad's going to handle it. Right. So I'm backing up, and I'm probably about from me to my crutches over here, and my dad runs up as angry father would, and he ends the bear's life from trying to further inflict damage on to its son, right? Wow. And immediately when that happened, everything's done. We knew that. In my head, I went straight into triage on myself. I mean, we were pretty militaristic about it. Like, Dad, I think I shot myself. His reaction, I'm not going to say it on TV. Anyways, I look down on my leg. I have a bullet hole. And so I take my backpack off. I bring a trauma kit with me wherever we go hunting. Good thing.
No kidding.
I rip open my pant leg. I see an injury wound. We get quick clawed out. I thought about it before I went on the hunt. I don't know why I thought about it, but I had a wrist rocket with the rubber thing, and I was like, I know where that's at. So I pulled that out, wrapped my leg to pull it tight. Not like it'd be a good tourniquet or nothing, but it held a quick clot right there until I further investigated the other injuries, and we look over at my right leg and my boot's filling up with blood. I notice it's all ripped apart, so I rip it. I can't see the injury. So we get quick clawed out and immediately put the tourniquet on, because again, there was a lot of bullets flying from my barrel in a frantic way. I didn't know if I hit myself a second time, you know. Hit the bear's on top of you, it's kind of, right? But put the tourniquet on, and those things, painful.
Oh, I can't.
Painful, my God. And it was, my dad said, he said, he'll die from blood loss, but not from pain. So that might have been said a few times there when I'm like, can you loosen it? No. I'm like, okay. He put that on, and then at that moment, I thought it was this and this. And I looked back, my leg a little bit more, and I saw an exit wound on my quad here. what I did is I blew it. It kind of just took a chunk of my muscle out here. Instead of hitting my, capping myself, arteries, femur, $1 million wound right there. I mean,
wow.
So I was kind of that was a relief as much as being shot, you know, like, hey, that's good. I don't know how bad this is. My dad, in his training, he got on his inReach, which if you don't know what an inReach is, it's kind of like a texting satellite.
Okay.
And people can track you on there. And he got in contact with the troopers. Shoot, I think he sent it out maybe, the incident happened at 2:58, around, it might have been 3:05 is when, or 3:04 is when he sent out the message. I'm not 100% sure on that. I know it's around there. And then from there, we didn't know if there was more bears around, you know, because did it have cubs, what have you. So I let my gun was next to me the whole time, you know, just in case something were to happen. And we're of course yelling, you know, beautiful day. I even said it on one of my things. I was like, it's a gorgeous day. It was a beautiful day.
Yes.
And that's when the waiting game kind of ensued. So it was every minute of having a tourniquet on. It really felt like the bear was still chewing on my leg.
I was gonna say, you're not in shock at this point. You're
No.
feeling the pain.
Yes. In that situation, I was even joking then, you know, like, hey, we're all good, you know. There's just some little things I say, you know, man, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
You know, I realize that when you panic, it doesn't help anyone, and on top of that, your heart rate goes up. When your heart rate goes up, blood gets pumping, and that's something that I don't want to be pumping too hard at the moment. So the adrenaline's still going through. I don't have a lot of pain here. I don't know if it cauterized everything going through. And also, I mentioned that the bear grabbed me on my upper right quad. I noticed that my pants were ripped a little bit, but I stuck my hand down there, pulled it out, no blood. Okay, well, not thinking anything of it. And about 20 minutes go by after the incident, and I go into my pocket because I remember I put these little tea pouches I, you know, usually take and stuck on for a while. I pull it out, and almost comical, there was a little claw mark through the hole of it. I was like, dumped it out, you know, I was like, dang it, set that to the side, and sat there. My dad's on the inReach getting a hold of them, and then it got me thinking, it's like, it feels like someone punched me, like I have like a Charlie horse. And so I kind of put my hand on my quad here, and my finger slipped into what was a gash in my leg, and I remember looking at my dad, I was like, there's more. And I rip open my pant pocket, and that was where there's a claw dragged across my quad there. And so I grabbed his bandana and put it against me, and at that time, you know, I wasn't losing blood from these at all, and the tourniquet was doing what it was supposed to do, and it stopped the bleeding from down here, but still painful. At the time, I think it was 3:30, we got in contact with RCC, and they said that they were getting a helicopter ready. And it was they said a half-hour ETA, about, right?
Right.
And so my dad then, and I wish we brought more water, but unfortunately we did not.
Right.
So I drank the water, and my dad's in front of the sun for me. You know, I played some music to try to calm myself down, and the waiting game happened. I put a half hour on my phone, you know, watched that tick down every minute. My dad, you know, being there, telling me to do the breathing techniques, calm it down, you know, tell me a story. He specifically asked me about ADAC in our hunting story there, which is a whole, that's a whole nother story there.
You got some stories.
No, we do. My dad, now when we go hunting, we always have a story to come back with, you know.
And what else is going through your mind in that as you're watching the clock tick down? Are you thinking about your son?
Yes, I made a video for my wife saying hi, sorry.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it was well, it's an epic hunting trip. You know, that's something that not a lot of people get to walk away and then, you know, share a story like that. Fortunately for my father and I, you know, we were seasoned hikers, hunters. We, you know, plan for the worst, hope for the best, and that's why we had the equipment we had. That's why we reacted the way we reacted. That's why I was able to get medevaced out. Yeah, I remember just sitting there also thinking, like, I can't wait to hear that helicopter coming over. But again, that whole time, you know, when the helicopter did come, I wasn't even, I was laying down. I was just almost trying to run away from my leg. It was on fire, and I was kind of like on my stomach. And when I was on my stomach turned, I was face to face with that bear, you know, and it's just right there, right? For an hour and change. It's unfortunate, it really is. Yeah.
Were you able to keep the bear?
No.
Okay.
No, that's
okay.
That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
When you know, someone gets attacked, and then
no.
As much as I like to, you know, I'd be like, hey, this is the bear that got me, and you know that my dad and I survived, and you know, got in a battle with, and
it's crazy.
Well, we ended up on top, and yeah, I have a lot of good people around me helping me out, and yeah, the hunt was cut short, but the memory will definitely live on a lot longer than that. So,
I mean, you talk about the growl of the bear.
Yeah.
I mean, was there anything else, like any smells or any?
No, actually, you know. It was kind of odd, and to me it was a little bit odd, and yeah, I guess I'll go into this. It was odd that there was a brown bear up there, for me personally, me thinking about it, because I would think right now that there would be salmon. You know, that would be spawning, they'd be going on the salmon, not up where I was at, where I'm hunting for brown or black bears, you know, going for berries. And where it was at, where it was resting, and I went through to try to figure out why it ran from my dad and then came towards me. And then it got me thinking about the trail, and that maybe that wasn't a moose that was walking where we were, because the grass was laid down a little bit more. Maybe a belly was dragging instead of, you know, tall legs just breaking a couple branches going through. And that funnel where I just walked out was where it came from. And unfortunately for me and the bear, I was in between it and escape. So at that moment for the bear, it was trapped,
right,
and I was then in the way of the bear. And well, it was kind of me or the bear at that moment. And unfortunately, I can't speculate what I could have done differently. Again, I don't go out to go kill anything that I'm not intended to try to kill.
Right.
I'm going for black bear, you know, feed my family. You know, it's something. So.
No, that's tough. That's tough, and I mean, you reacted well, like, and thanks for kind of giving us a little background on your dad.
Yes.
Sounds like he knows exactly what to do, but again, until you're faced with it, you don't know how you're going to react, right? So,
absolutely.
And you've never faced anything like, you're 32 years old?
Yes.
And you grew up this way, and you've never encountered anything like this?
I've encountered brown bears before. Yeah. I just haven't encountered one that I surprised like I did. Because I mean, I don't recommend it to everybody, but I go hiking by myself. I love being up in the mountains. You can ask, you know, if you're like, hey, Tyler, he's like, yeah, he's a hiker. He goes hiking all the time. He goes hunting with his father. You know, we like getting away. We like being up in the mountains. We like being back in the glaciers. We like just experiencing what Alaska, I mean, it's Alaska, right? Yeah. You got to take advantage of it. I will miss it. I got a tattoo of it.
Yeah, man.
So it's part of me.
Is this going to change how you approach? Like, will you not go hiking alone anymore? Or, I mean, you know, that type of thing? Or?
That's a good question.
I mean, obviously it's going to take time to even sink in, but.
I mean, right now, I'm not going to go hiking alone. I can't really hike right now, but, you know, if I could, I would go hiking. I like having company, too. You know, I'm not in a part of my life where I like being alone. You know, I like having my friends around, my family, my father, my wife, my kid. Now going hunting again, it's part of me. You know, it happened, and that's just something that my father and I are going to have to accept. And you know, talking about it with you, that's something that I have to talk through and work through with myself.
Yeah.
You know, can't just let that sit there and not talk about it.
No, you definitely got to deal with it. And it sounds like you're doing a really, I mean, I don't know, man. You're doing a great job so far. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to think, though, here you are sitting in Anchorage just a couple days ago, you know, you were laying there waiting for the helicopter. I mean, it's got to be very emotional, very emotional.
Yeah, I really wanted to keep on hunting.
Yeah. Is that, yeah?
Yeah. I didn't have to hike out, so yeah, that was a long hike.
It was a long
Thanks,
hike.
Joe. It got me out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the troopers and everyone getting out of there. Like,
Had to be quite the operation.
I'm sure. I mean, I was doing the easy part, just laying there. So, yeah, 100 years ago, that you would have been hiking out yourself if you were able to, you know. And that's.
Do you remember much from the ride or the trip? Like I mean, once the helicopter arrived, do you remember much?
Yeah. When the trooper Joe, he put me on. It's like a pulling tarp, a little black with handles.
Okay.
And he just kind of threw me on there, not threw me, like flopped me onto there and dragged me through back towards a helicopter, which I don't know how far it was. It wasn't too far. I remember getting dragged through a creek, and I was like, that feels good. Oh, wait, that hurts. You know, for that split second, I was like, oh, my leg's not there. And then I remember laying down and by the side of the helicopter looking at the pilot, and he's like, nice job. I'm like, yeah, cool. And then I'm just looking at the helicopter, you know, the thop, and hearing my dad and them talk. And then they were like, so how are we going to get him in here? And I was like, I grab onto it. Like, you know, they helped me, but I was like, I'm getting in here, man. Let's go.
Let's go.
You know, they're like,
Yes.
you could wait here about 20 more minutes for RCC, you know, get a Black Hawking you out. I'm like, nope, I'm good. Let's go. And it wasn't the most comfy ride, you know, but it was nice having someone back there helping me out. I do remember looking down, like, oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this hurts. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this hurts. You know, so I was just like this back and forth, and like, where's Providence? I'm looking out, like, how far away am I?
Right.
I do remember seeing the landing pad, and seeing the guys run out in the gurney, and I'm like scooting back, like, get me on this gurney, getting in there, and there was like 30 people waiting for me.
Wow.
You know, you can expect that, you know, someone get something like, hey, there's a gunshot victim and a bear mauling. They probably expected someone like Freddy Krueger to come in, you know, but they got me.
Yeah.
You know, kind of a little bit, you know, it's just who I am. I kind of make jokes, but
You got to deal with
yeah,
it, you know.
they let me out that night on good behavior, so I was at my
Wow.
in-laws that night, and I got to sleep in a bed there.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So you weren't there for that long. You were out Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night. I think we got home at midnight.
Wow.
Somewhere around there.
Man, it's incredible. What's your advice for people who get caught in a situation similar? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you said, you're not really. You could prep all you want. You could think about it, take the classes, buy the bear spray, whatever.
Yep.
But until you're there in that moment, you have no idea.
And like I said, I don't want to speculate if bear spray would have worked or not. In that moment, I had only time to react to a bear jumping on top of me, and I had a 10 millimeter, and I would not go hiking without that 10 millimeter again. The situation I was in, it was so fast. You know, potentially in a different circumstance, when the bear false charged or something like that, bear spray probably would have done its job. On this point, no, the bear was on top of me, and it was me or the bear. Having a good partner and going through how to operate it in reach, going with the trauma kit, not just the, you know, that little red thing you get from Walmart that has Band-Aid and mule skin in there, you know, like that works, you know, I fell and, you know, cut myself a little bit, but that trauma kit, I remember looking at it that morning and say, don't be lazy, put that in it, you need it. You don't know if you need it, you know, prepare for the worst, you know, so, have a good partner. And fortunately, like I said, I believe I have the best one in the state. So, yeah, going hunting alone, some people are fine with that. That's just a risk that you're willing to take when you go out there alone. I wouldn't have made it back being alone. So that's my stance on that.
All right. And talk about your dad a little bit. So you said he's doing okay. It's just more of a mental thing and an emotional thing for him right now after having to witness something like that.
He's back at work, being a trooper. Okay. I talk to him quite often in the last couple of days. We have a lot to work through. Again, I have a son myself, and I don't know how I would react to seeing him get tackled by a bear. I mean, every man can imagine it, just what you would try to do in that situation. Would I jump on its back? We always kind of go into that little place in our mind, what kind of primal thing you would do. Until that happens, then it's a different story. And my dad reacted flawlessly.
And thanks for clarifying that it was an accidental shot in the leg. I think a lot of people thought
right?
maybe your dad
They're
shot
like,
you or
gunshot wound, seriously injured, bear attack, and it's like, I shot myself, guys. Let's just go. I did that. I'll get a pass on that too, by the way, right?
Yeah, of course. And but like you said, so exit wound and
it's
and you're able to walk around on it. Okay.
Yeah, that's my good leg. Oddly enough, like I said, the ladies at the wound clinic were showing me, there's the muscle there. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm healing pretty fast though. Good. So that's something. Yeah.
All right.
And hopefully here in a couple months I'll be able to continue, going hiking and doing what I love doing.
Is there some good stuff down in Texas? Some good areas for that where you live, or not? I mean, nothing like this, obviously.
We moved down there, and I drove down there, and I was there for 3 days, and I've never been there before in my life. Never drove in a city in my life, and I had a 12-foot U-Haul, and I got to experience it for about 3 days. So when I get back there in about a week, I'll be researching places to go. I'm sure there's plenty of things to do, and I have a new position of being a remote worker, so I can, summertime, come back up here.
Cool.
It's Alaska's in my blood, man.
You got a lot going on in your life right now.
Yeah, keeps you busy.
Keeps you busy. Very good.
For sure.
Very cool. Well, anything else you want to say about the experience, about what happened? Anybody that I mean, you said the responders were incredible.
Yeah, thanks for picking me up. That would have been a difficult hike out. And thanks for everyone's support. I mean, every person here, or not here, but my wife reaching out and talking to me, and my friends reaching out. It really, it helps.
Yeah. Do you think you get to go back about a week?
Yeah, when my antibiotics work through, because bears and bear injuries, so they pack a lot of bacteria. They don't brush their teeth.
Right.
So when you get that into your leg, you have to take your antibiotics, and you have a pretty high percentage of getting an infection. And I like to take my bed getting an infection here in Alaska, where they know how to fix infections from bears. I don't think they have too many bears in Austin, so
right.
I like to take my chances here. If that were to happen, I'd rather have it happen here. So
stars aligned, and you're all good.
I would say so.
Or at least physically, you're
physically, yeah. Mentally, I'm all here.
Okay.
It was a lot of close calls, and I use it up on my karma for right now. So gotta get that back on track. Yeah, it's
awesome.
It'll be a road, but like I said, I got a lot of support. So
Thanks for listening to this edition of In Depth Alaska. Please like and subscribe to this podcast.